I am a 35-year-old woman with a teenage daughter, Kelly. Her father is my ex-husband, Josh, who is 37 years old. We separated when Kelly was 10 years old. Since that time, Josh has been married to Lily, who is now 30 years old. Most of the time, Kelly lives with me. However, Josh also has a room for her that is larger than mine. It's worth noting that Kelly is not fussy about food and often cooks for herself. She enjoys experimenting with new dishes. At the same time, she has special requirements for the preparation of hot drinks. For example, she prefers hot chocolate exclusively on milk, without adding water, and tea, without milk and sugar. Kelly appreciates the variety of teas and believes that milk or sugar can ruin their flavor. Unfortunately, Kelly recently had to undergo surgery. At this point, she is unable to get around on her own and needs nursing care. Josh suggested that she stay with him as he has an extra room available. Lily, his wife, agreed to take care of Kelly while Josh is at work. Since she doesn't work and they don't have children together, this seemed like a reasonable solution. Both Kelly and I agreed to this plan. Because of my job and lack of insurance coverage, I can't afford to stay home 24/7. I need to work to pay for her surgery and other medical bills. Last week, Kelly moved in with Josh. Lily and I try to spend time with her in the evenings. One evening, Kelly called me and asked me to drive her home. When I asked my daughter what happened, she told me about how Lily often offered her drinks that Kelly could not drink for medical reasons, including coffee. When trying to discuss this, Lily responded that if Kelly was not happy with something, she could make the drink herself, even though she knew her daughter was bedridden. As a result, I took my daughter home and explained to my ex-husband that I expected him to cover the medical bills and some of my expenses, given Lily's failure to handle Kelly's care. I refused to give Lily a second chance despite Josh's requests. This decision drew criticism from Josh and relatives on my husband's side who disagreed with my action. In addition, Lily repeatedly added sugar and milk to Kelly's tea, even though Kelly does not like sweet tea. Kelly mentioned that even when she asked for hot chocolate, Lily made it with water. There were other problems. Kelly had difficulty waiting for help from Lily to get to the bathroom or get out of bed because she could not do it on her own. Lily continued to offer Kelly drinks that she was unable to consume due to drug interactions, which complicated the situation. Your anxiety reached significant proportions, raising questions about your emphasis on certain aspects of your life. For example, the special attention given to beverages raises questions. This is not just another problem. It is serious and could be a key point in your narrative. In this context, you are absolutely right. Your focus on the tea emphasizes that the bathroom problem, while seemingly significant, is actually inferior to more important issues. If you had stated the issue more clearly, many people would have thought your daughter was being overly active, and you might be looking for reasons for drama or dislike for the ex-spouse and his current wife. There is no reason to demand finances from the ex, unfortunately. This kind of behavior of putting your daughter above everything else and the fact that the ex has a bigger house is frowned upon highlights the problem with your relationship, not their financial situation. Mentioning that his wife adds milk and sugar to his tea is not a crime, and mistakenly made coffee is not the end of the world. If you are unhappy with something about your financial situation, it's best to be blunt about it. Using your daughter's current situation to retaliate financially is unacceptable. Adding sugar and milk to tea when you know it's not to someone's taste takes extra effort. If it is done intentionally to make an inconvenience, it shows an unwillingness to Kelly's presence. Actions to make Kelly's presence less comfortable in hopes that she will leave reflect relationship difficulties. However, without sufficient context, it is difficult to discuss financial issues. Caring for your child does not make you a short-sighted person until you see the full picture. Next story. I am a woman. I am 39 years old. In my family, where traditionally children started appearing by the age of 21, my parents were no exception, becoming parents at 19. This was preceded by similar stories of their own parents maintaining the same trend. Before the age of 25, siblings had already gained children of their own. Differing from this path, in my 20s I remained the only one who had not experienced the joy of motherhood and had not married. This situation provoked a particular reaction in the family, which despite my aspirations for motherhood, the family repeatedly raised concerns about my age, suggesting that becoming a parent at a more mature age might be unfair to future children. They argued that it was better to become a parent while full of vigor and able to actively participate in the lives of children and enjoy grandchildren as energetic grandparents. This attitude of my family amazed my husband, then my boyfriend, who was stunned by what he heard from them. Despite family traditions and expectations, I did not feel ready for motherhood in my 20s, especially given the financial challenges we were facing. As I watched my loved ones, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins face challenges, I realized that most of them, as young parents, had taken on the responsibility of raising large families of 5 to 7 children. I never judged them for their choices, but sought a different path myself. My patience and decision to wait allowed me to become a parent at more mature ages 33, 35, and 36, which I believed was a favorable age to raise my 3 children. This choice led to limited communication with my family for several years due to inconsistent views and unacceptable comments I received, especially after I decided to cut back on communication at age 29. Recently, my family, especially my siblings, have begun to express discontent with my lifestyle, including vacations with my family and gifts we can afford. One of my sisters expressed disappointment that her children were unable to attend a birthday party at a trampoline park organized by my oldest daughter, emphasizing her children's disappointment and blaming me for my actions causing them to feel disadvantaged. My parents also expressed that they felt I was being arrogant by allowing myself vacations with their children at their young ages, as opposed to the traditional expectation of waiting until they were adults. Frustrated by such accusations, I created a group chat to make it clear that I was not going to apologize for my choice to wait until my children were born and have the opportunity to provide them with the best. I emphasized that if they didn't respect my decision, the limited communication could escalate to a complete shutdown. Despite my explanation, the accusations of bullying and unwarranted attacks continued, leaving me confused about my future relationship with my family. In our society, it is inevitable to encounter people with different opinions and perspectives on life. Some of them may be particularly critical and seemingly jealous of other people's decisions. It is important to realize that everyone has the right to make their own choices. This is a fundamental principle that separates actions aimed at imposing one's opinion on others from simply expressing one's own position. Sometimes people take an excessive interest in the lives of others, especially when it comes to publishing on the internet. In such cases, reducing contact with those who are perceived as toxic or causing negative emotions can help. Negative energy will not lead to anything good. As for the family and the number of children, it is important to focus on the capabilities and desires of the parents. The ideal number of children for each family is individual. It depends on many factors, including financial situation, ability to provide children with the proper level of attention, care, and education. You should not judge or criticize the decisions of others in this matter, because everyone strives to provide a better future for their children based on their own abilities and beliefs. Now I want to tell a different story. I am 34 years old, and I have a longtime friend named Cordelia who is 32. Of all the women I've met, Cordelia stood out for her striking beauty. However, despite her looks, she has always had self-esteem issues. Recently, the trend of facial fat removal procedures had caught her attention. Cordelia was adamant that she needed to have it done, arguing that she was dissatisfied with her face, which, in her opinion, seemed too round, although in fact it was not. After a long period of saving up, Cordelia traveled to Los Angeles for the surgery. After a while, she recovered enough to start seeing the first results. My personal views on such procedures are skeptical, but I'm of the opinion that if it makes a person happy, my opinion doesn't matter. Beauty is a subjective concept, and the most important thing is that a person feels confident and loves themselves. Cordelia and I recently met at a breakfast where she decided to ask my opinion on the result of the surgery. I tried to find the words to express my joy for her happiness and my confidence that the surgeon had done an excellent job. But Cordelia returned to the question, wanting a more direct answer from me. I tried to reassure her by telling her that she had always been beautiful and that her new confidence had only added to her radiance. When she insisted that I appreciate her beauty, I emphasized that only her own opinion mattered, as it was her face and her happiness. Unfortunately, my answer did not satisfy Cordelia. In the midst of the conversation, she accused me of being jealous and petty, which led to her spilling her mimosa on me. I didn't mean to offend her and was puzzled as to how much she wanted my opinion and why she couldn't accept my response. This incident made me feel uncomfortable and made me reflect on what had happened. It's not your fault. She is really struggling with deep-seated insecurity, and no amount of surgery or your words of comfort can change her internal state. I truly feel sorry for her for the way she sought your approval, and you may even have wondered if her behavior is related to some deeper feelings for you. She certainly needs professional psychological help more than anything else. If I were in your shoes, I would encourage her to look for reasons for her dissatisfaction with herself that lie deeper and emphasize that this is already beyond what you can offer help with. In asking for your opinion, she probably only wanted to hear a harmless lie that would be enough for her. She wasn't interested in your honesty, and this shows that you as friends are completely incompatible. In some friendships, lighthearted communication is acceptable when both realize that they are just joking around, and it makes them happier. Others appreciate above all sincerity and frankness. But do not be upset. Everyone has their own way and their own methods of finding happiness. The fact that she poured a drink on you speaks volumes in itself. Are you really asking yourself if you were wrong when she basically showed aggression towards you? Real friends don't behave like that. This behavior is not a sign of friendship, but rather a demonstration of insecurity, rudeness, and temper. Assault, even if it is only pouring a drink, is unacceptable and can be seen as an act of aggression. It is important to strive for healthy and supportive friendships that bring joy and confidence. It may be time to rethink what true friendship really means and realize that this girl may not be the kind of person you can rely on as a true friend. My next story. My son is an elementary school student and has many friends. Among them is a boy named Elliot. He stands out for his kindness, but needs extra support in many aspects of his life, including daily routine tasks. We have a warm relationship with his family, who have been longtime friends to us. Our families often spend time together, and this includes socializing with grandparents. One day, as we were celebrating my son's birthday, the guests began to disperse. Some children had gone home and others were without their parents. It is at this point that I must mention my past experiences. I once took a nursing course but did not complete my training. My experience is not much, but it is there. That day I was taking care of the children, helping them with various chores and doing food preparation. That's when Elliot came up to me, pulled my shoulder and told me that he needed to go to the bathroom and that he needed my help. Because of his special needs, this process takes about 20 minutes. I was embarrassed and replied, "Oh, honey, I can't help you right now. Please go to your parents." To which he replied that they had left and asked him to address me specifically. At this point, my mother-in-law came over and said that Elliot's parents had entrusted me to take care of him as they needed a few hours to rest. She offered to watch the other children while I helped Elliot and handed me his bag full of necessary supplies. That moment sent a flurry of emotions through me, from anger and embarrassment to pity for this boy. I tried to remain calm in front of Elliot, but in the back of my mind, I was concerned that this whole incident was happening during my son's birthday. The thought overwhelmed me that there was no way I was obligated to take this on, let alone wanting to see my son rejoice in his celebration. I would have been quite outraged to find that having left my child with a trusted person, I would have returned to find that person gone in 20 minutes, leaving my child in the care of a stranger. In addition, it seemed absurd to me that my mother-in-law would assume that I would take on a responsibility that I was clearly not comfortable with. I made my position clear to Elliot. "I'm sorry, I can't help you today." I then took my mother-in-law aside so that our conversations could not be heard by others and explained to her that she had to handle the situation on her own or call Elliot's parents back. I emphasized that I couldn't leave unsupervised the children I was responsible for. Elliot was visibly surprised by my refusal and then shifted his gaze to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was shocked and angry at my decision. She was eventually able to reach Elliot's parents through my husband, but after this incident, she began to act very reserved with me. She even rebuked me in front of my husband, claiming that being almost a nurse, I should have been able to easily handle the task and look after Elliot. My husband responded by pointing out to her that such assumptions were unacceptable. Elliot's parents, though displeased, apologized nonetheless. They assumed that I had taken it unwillingly. I felt awful about the whole situation, but the idea of being distracted from the party for such a long period of time seemed uncomfortable. I also want to add that for some of the kids, I was the only familiar adult at the party. This makes me think that by refusing to help a special needs child during an event I organized, I may not have done the best thing. For starters, you should have discussed the situation with your mother-in-law, emphasizing the need to clean up the mess you created. This is not a call for unwise action. Any sensible adult faced with such a suggestion would quite likely refuse to participate, even if your mother-in-law insisted on going through the unpleasant experience. She should realize that caring for someone involves not only moral support, but also the more intimate aspects of caregiving, such as personal hygiene. Parents, especially those raising children with special needs, should not expect others to take over their parenting responsibilities, especially in sensitive matters such as caring for a child during a private event. It is hard not to infer from the description that the situation may have required specific medical attention, such as handling a catheter or stoma, which is a responsibility beyond the normal expectations of a birthday party host. If the mother-in-law feels that such responsibilities are not exceptional, perhaps she should become more familiar with what special caregiving entails. Such an experience could give her an idea of the complexities and demands of such care and perhaps change her views on the issue. A story that really surprised me. My brother is about to get married and is organizing a rather extravagant celebration. In addition to using his own funds, he has asked me for additional support to finance the event. As a member of the same family, I have no particular financial difficulties and felt it was my duty to help him. However, something happened recently that made me rethink the situation. My brother informed me that my spouse would not be receiving an invitation to the wedding for a specific reason. She and my brother's future wife had a conflict in the past over a trivial matter, after which they stopped communicating. I tried to explain to my brother that past disagreements should not prevent adults from being in the same place, but he insisted, claiming that his chosen one did not want to experience negative emotions on such an important day. I objected, reminding him that the wedding was significant to him as well, and as his brother, I should attend with my wife. To my determination, he reacted angrily. I stated that if he did not want my wife among the guests, he could no longer count on my financial support. I am now under pressure from my family, who consider my behavior unreasonable and claim that I am preventing my brother from enjoying one of the happiest moments of his life. They are convinced that my wife will have no problem missing the event, but I cannot bear the thought of her being undeservedly excluded from a significant family celebration because of a long-standing and minor quarrel. Your situation brings up many emotions and reflections. It is important to realize that the feelings this dilemma has caused are valid. When family members say that your wife's absence from the wedding is just a small thing and she can easily skip the day, you should remember that the same suggestion can be addressed to them. If your wife's participation is so critical to the atmosphere of the celebration, it may be worth reconsidering the funding of the gala. After all, if one person's presence is so significant, perhaps they themselves can take on the burden of funding the wedding. Withdrawing financial support was a stumbling block, especially given the willingness to take those funds before the conflict arose. This emphasizes that financial contribution is seen as important regardless of personal relationships and emotions, which raises the issue of values and priorities. The presence or absence of money should not determine the quality and sincerity of the celebration. The most important thing on the wedding day is the affirmation of commitment and love between the partners, not the overall budget of the celebration. In addition, the vows you and your spouse make at the time of marriage involve supporting each other in all aspects of life, including situations where one partner feels excluded or unappreciated. Your decision to stand by your wife's side and not support an event that disregards her feelings and dignity reflects a commitment to these principles. It's also important to consider that even if your wife did do wrong once, that doesn't take away your right to choose how to respond to the current situation, especially when it comes to supporting important life moments. Of course, all of this reasoning is nothing more than an attempt to make sense of the current situation without drawing final conclusions. In any case, the choice is yours, sincerely considering all aspects and feelings affected by this issue.